Hey, welcome back to the LIT AF podcast, The Riffs. I'm your host, David Preston. Host sounds awfully grand for a guy sitting in his office talking about stuff. But one of the things that's come up most often in my consulting, in my teaching, in my life in general, has been the concept of honesty. I remember hearing that Billy Joel song, Honesty. Oh my goodness. Well, at least I'm so off key that YouTube probably won't cancel this out for copyright. But he goes on to say it's such a lonely word, everyone is so untrue, and it's so unusual and scarce and therefore dear and precious. And you think, why? What's so damn difficult about being honest? It comes up a lot. And in fact, I was watching the movie Poor Things with Emma Stone recently. And, we're heading into Oscar season. There's a big, I don't know if it's a controversy or celebration or what, but the idea that the movie is so open about sexuality and so frank, so honest. But do you really have to implant the brain of an infant in a grown body to have that level of child's mind that's so transparent and unvarnished? It's not the only depiction in movies of honesty that takes us like way outside the norm just to get to the place where people can talk to each other. Look at Liar Liar with Jim Carrey, right? It's got to be a magical spell, I think, if my memory serves. Of course, he was an attorney in that movie, so I don't know, maybe that makes sense. Or Al Pacino coming in Scent of a Woman in that great finale scene at the private school where he speaks truth to power. There's 1,000 different examples of this. And one of them happens a lot in casual conversation, right? We're in conversation and someone says, well, to be perfectly honest, or to be really honest with you, I'm gonna be honest with you. Honestly. Honestly? What the are you doing the rest of the time? Now, to be fair, in the past, when I've mediated conflicts for clients or I've coached executives on communications or management and delegation, leadership, sometimes even interpersonal relationships, although that is not my expert. Anybody who knows you or who knows me or knows you maybe will tell you, honestly, that's not my expertise. But the same principle holds true throughout our lives. If we have to preface something by saying, now I'm going to be honest with you, it throws a little bit of shade on whatever happened before. Why do we do that? Why do we dress so much up? I mean, yeah, there's the whole, Dr. Phil pop psychology stuff about how we create persona to get along on the playground and school and dating relationships and so on and so forth. I get all that. Chris Rock saying you never go on a first date, you send your representative. We all want to be seen in favorable ways. But when did honesty become so difficult? And that's the crux of it. Honesty is not hard when the news is good, right? Your partner walks into the room and he, she, they says, hey, how do I look in this outfit? And they look fantastic. Honesty is awesome. You don't have any problem being honest in that moment. If, on the other hand, they look like a circus act, a stuffed sausage, a baby rhino, I could go on. Are you going to do them the favor of being honest with them and giving them your considered opinion? Like maybe you want to think twice before you go outside? If someone has spinach in their teeth and toilet paper hanging out their waistband and they're on their way to a job interview, what kind of a friend are you to let them go? But it brings up a lot of emotion. It brings up fear. It brings up the potential for rejection, the potential for tension and conflict and ill will, confusing the message with the messenger. And yet, if we're really going to be honest, that's what friendship takes. That's what intimacy requires. That's what organizational collaboration depends on. Why in the world would you have people in a room with you if you're a leader or an executive or an entrepreneur or even a creative? Why would you surround yourself with anyone if all you want to do is agree with your own thoughts? You can save a lot of time and money and energy. Hang out by yourself. Look at me right now. Now, look, I can only imagine when people see this, whether it's synchronous, and I'm not seeing any comments come in yet, but they might, this being YouTube and all. Honesty in and of itself isn't always enough to sustain a relationship. It isn't even always enough to be kind. When I was younger, I prided myself on being honest and saying the things. I ran into a friend of mine as an adult who I hadn't seen in 30-something years since we were in high school together. And he still remembered me as that guy who was willing to say the thing that needed to be said when it made other people uncomfortable. But what I realized over time, and I don't know where I got this idea, so credit where it's due, wherever that may be, honesty without compassion can be cruel. And so at this point, knowing all of the wonderful things that I don't know, but trying to get better at them in real time and doing some of that right here in the hopes that it will help somebody else who may be watching or listening to this. Yes, honesty. And yes, compassion and kindness and empathy. Because when someone hears a message that's not easy to say, it's probably not easy to receive either. And how is that for them in that moment? So I don't want to compromise honesty. I don't want to compromise transparency. I think it may be all we have left. We look around at the environment and our inability and unwillingness to do very much about fossil fuels or even compost or organic materials and make soil to grow stuff. We look around at our politics and oh my goodness, can anyone, anywhere on the political spectrum, just simply agree that there are actual facts in the world and that some ideas are better than others? And that maybe sometimes breaking party lines is the best way to strengthen a party because it makes it more credible, in addition to helping the people who voted it into power in the first place? The environment, politics, interpersonal relationship. Oh, customer service. There's a beaut. What if companies were honest? Holy moly. I just went online today. There was a company that I had a monthly subscription to. Don't we all? And the email said, your auto pay is coming up, but you can only cancel your account by calling this number. We don't accept email. So I called the number. Well, you got to send an email. I just called this number because you said this. Yes, sir, we know, but this is the process. First you call, then you send the email. Great. Okay, but tomorrow the auto payment, I don't want that to be, well, it's already in process, so that's going to be, wait, what? This is where I think AI actually has a real benefit, because AI can show us precisely what isn't human in the practice of human interpersonal communication. I don't really need a human being at that point, because as soon as, if I let myself get upset, if I use off-color language, well, then I'm going to get lectured by a human being who suddenly wants to be human and have a heart, whereas before they were just going off of a script. At least with AI, I know I can just depend on the script. Speaking of which, AI is also a wonderful way to practice prompt engineering. Now, that's got all sorts of technology implications that I'm not going to go into here yet. But prompt engineering, hugely useful when you want someone to, I don't know, clean the kitchen. Clean the kitchen means different things to different people. I promise you, I had to learn what it means to my wife. And I'm not saying that with any criticism whatsoever. It's with total admiration and honor. She's always done it better than I do. And there were degrees to her care that I just didn't know. And I learned. And I'm better now than I was before. But to fully actualize that potential, to just get the response we want, you got to ask the right questions. It's not just, hey, would you clean the sink? It's, hey, would you use that vinegar spray that I have below the sink? And would you use this particular thing to clean it? And then when you're done with it, would you please put that in the laundry room so that we don't accidentally use it again on a dish or on our hands or whatever? All those little steps, if you talk to an executive, they'll say, oh yeah, I remember that workshop from 30 years ago. Smart delegation, right? Specific, measurable, accountable, reliable, timely, something like that. I started with honesty. I don't want to hear anybody tell me, honestly, actually, basically. Just tell me. This has been a riff. I'm David Preston, your Lit AF host. I hope that you are tuning into the Lit AF podcast in general. We are currently doing Picture of Dorian Gray. I'm also interviewing storytellers, and I'd love to have you with us. And by all means, if you're ever so inclined, do drop me a line. Honestly. Thanks for watching.